Hello, welcome back. It's module 3. Kelly here with you again, and we're going to hit this thing home, the final home stretch of digital strategy, the big, bad, robust course that kicks off our digital marketing certificate. Glad you're still here with me. Let's do this. So module 3 is going to see us go through customer journey, paid reach, and systems and measurement, a bit of data for us to end with. And really what we're talking about here is buckets or digital marketing pillars number 6, 7, and 8 that we've outlined and teed up for the last 2 modules. I really love customer journey. This is something we're talking about like crazy in the decade ahead. Why? Because it's changed so much, and it is really incredible to see the physical and digital touch points of our marketing efforts kind of align like never before. So we'll look at that. Of course, we'll dive into paid reach and all things, you know, digital advertising on social, and then a little bit looking at Google as well, which of course we get deep into in course number 3, dedicated to Google Ads. And then again, how are we measuring, reporting, and optimizing on what's working as we go? Few examples to kick us off, some copywriting, content, and campaigns from the old world-class realm. I mentioned earlier West Elm, so I went and found a couple examples here. We're looking at IGTV. Why not? This is a really neat platform, and I do want to hit home just how much of an opportunity it is for many of us who want to be broadcasting or using IGTV as a fantastic free place to truly pull back the curtains and implement so many of the things we're talking about here. So West Elm has this incredible channel, and they do these bite-sized vertical videos, remember. All we're talking about with IGTV is the vertical version of our screen. So we're holding it upright, we're filming it as we would without doing the whole landscape switch. And you can still post that same kind of video to Facebook or YouTube if you're feeling like you need to cross-post or you want to be lazy. You could also have 2 screens going. Maybe you have an iPad or an old phone that you can film simultaneously if you want to, or 2 selfie sticks at a time. Don't be afraid to reuse some of your video. Yes, there's editing software that we go deep into in our photo and video course in the social media marketing certificate. And you can switch it and do all the things you need to do to edit and change the dimensions of a video, but easier if you just shoot it off the hop. You make limited post-production edits for yourself. Don't become a photo video editor if you don't have to in a deep sense of the word. And see what you can do that's more fun, like adding some fun, punchy headlines or copy over top of that video. Same thing, there's no shortage of free software that can do that for you really easily, like West Elm has done here. Obviously, they've partnered with a bartender as their, you know, promoting and launching some of their new maybe bartender-esque products. Ditto if they're showcasing their bedroom event, they're going to have graphic design, interior designers come in and help them with that. So really, really fun, punchy, bite-sized, helpful, resourceful videos you don't even realize you're being sold to. Warby Parker, same thing. This is the first optical company that sort of disrupted the traditional market where glasses didn't have to cost $700 anymore. Mail order glasses. Their really cool software or apps allow you to try on glasses in advance since, you know, you'll be getting them in the mail. But they tell these super compelling stories of their buyers and users and fans, both celebrity and everyday peeps. So really kind of fun way to get to know them if you're thinking about getting behind the brand. And once again, when we've got Ollie Quinn and Warby Parker and all of these other around me in our neighborhood, there's 3 new optical companies trying to meet this model. And when you're making your choice as a consumer, sure, I want to shop local and I try to as much as I can, but I'm also going with the brand I trust the most. And what better way to build trust than with video and storytelling? Netflix, just a really cool way to take us out of the Netflix medium as we know it and look at their IGTV channel. So of course they can tee up their upcoming shows, and they should and they must on social where we're hanging out, but even cooler if they can go behind the scenes and show us additional content. Of course, goes without saying, that's what social's for. Pull back the curtains and tell me more about, you know, the stars of one of your big new shows. And if they're your actors in your production, yeah, you can take advantage of those relationships and film a quick quip behind the scenes or map out something really cool for your editorial calendar that gives people a little bit more. So you're top of mind. You're doing some kind of campaign for that quarterly or monthly launch of a new show or a new product, store, expansion, whatever is in your world. And you're counting it down through really neat teaser features. These don't just have to be paid ads promoting something new. They can be cleverly, creatively done as campaigns where we count down and we slowly release bits and pieces through social, and people get so excited about it. A quick story here. I am lucky enough to be a board member and a minor shareholder at Undercard Boxing Studio that my best friend Amanda started. She's my entrepreneurial hero. And anyway, Undercard is now national in Canada. And when they launched on Boxing Day in 2016, boxing was new. We're talking group fitness boxing that was different and suddenly accessible by the everydayer. And of course, opening in a giant, beautiful 5,000 square foot heritage building that they were retrofitting like crazy into this killer boxing gym was delayed. It was delayed and delayed with development permits and historical issues and all the rest of it. So for 9 months, not 3 as planned, they had to build momentum, and they did it through pop-ups. They did it completely on Instagram with the relationships they already had in the sweat scene in Calgary and beyond. And they just created this massive growth of followers and fans and people that were like hankering and hungry for the launch when it finally opened. They had a lineup down the block anytime they did a free pop-up boxing class at a nightclub, but they would do it on a Saturday morning, or at a restaurant where they could take it over in the evening or on a weekend. And sure enough, Instagram was their free. They just did it completely organically. Not all of us can do that because we don't all have boxing gyms and enormous resources, or I should say networks at our fingertips just yet. But they did it for with just one platform and incredible imagery, aspirational content, and relationship building that took place over the series of months and months of building. And they didn't lose momentum when they could have. So when they opened on Boxing Day 2016, they just killed it. They absolutely destroyed their targets because of the momentum and excitement they'd built. Okay, customer journey. Let's look at this. So what we're noticing first and foremost is that the customer journey has changed immensely. And that discovery phase that we're going to look at down to action, if you want to call it a funnel, which we'll see here in a minute, we'll visualize it. We put people into the top of the funnel, those cold leads. The best way to think about this, I find, is like a realtor. I'm no realtor, but even I'm aware of the fact that a realtor has, or should have traditionally, an enormous amount of cold calls and relationship and network building at the outset. Let's say it takes 1,000 cold leads that they know will lead to 100 warm ones and 10 hot buyers, if that, but that they work it all the time. And it's like the rest of us. We just don't often think of it as a funnel where we're constantly, I always do the image of the cold leads being put into the top of the funnel at the awareness stage. Hey, you don't know us, you're cold to us, but we're gonna warm you up and work you through to get you down to take action and then repeat and stick around. When we look at the customer journey, all we're doing is turning that funnel on its side. It's a nicer way to talk about it as well. And we look at the touch points, physical and digital, throughout that journey. So we're going to take a peek at that and understand how this orchestra of human and physical and digital is all working together. So I've mentioned this already in a few ways and also directly, but that in a lot of aspects, we can argue that the age of product differentiation is done. Why? Because again, there's so few barriers to entry anymore, because I can start something tomorrow with my phone and a few photos and call myself a business person and own a website by the end of the day. But, you know, the difference becomes in the experience of how people are exposed to your brand and then how you deliver it to them on an ongoing or a one-off basis. And this is what we're craving. We know we can shop from any eyeglass company now at our fingertips on the internet. However, what's the one that I really align with and feel good about and feel like I'm in control of? Remember, all of these things working together. So I've said this a number of times, and now I'm writing it down for you. I want to hit this home. If we set the stage with our values and our voice and our purpose and our story living and our content and our offline experiences, we will have people engage with us in the way we hope they will. If we don't tell our story, someone else will. You can look at this in the most extreme examples of the Canadian energy industry, oil and gas being a perfect example, where for so long, I will say outright, that industry and those executives did not let people in. And they proceeded with, you know, unlimited social license to operate. Why? Because all through the 70s, 80s, 90s, recently even, we didn't know what they were up to. Not to say it was all bad, but suddenly when the world has a view of everything going on, we are in the backyard of someone's pipeline or their pit mine or whatever it is, with a lack of understanding of any of the good or any of the humanity behind it or the people involved, we make up the story for them. And unfortunately, there's a number of industries that didn't understand that need and didn't see it as problematic, that they weren't really truly becoming human and telling their story, good and bad and otherwise, in order for people to you know, engage in the right way. So social media today and digital marketing is as much crisis communication and mitigation and avoidance as it is positive. And the more that we set the proper stage, the easier it is when something does go awry for us to come off as really, really valid and authentic and positive, and to be able to, you know, own and turn the story without denying or deflection. So today's transformative digital marketers and companies, they know where to go, platform by platform, tactic by tactic, and they absolutely know how to show up when they get there in all the right ways. So we can guarantee, we know this to be true statistically and anecdotally in our own companies. I agree with this in full-fledged reality. Our customers' buying behaviors and patterns are very different from start to finish than they were 3 years ago, 10 years ago, of course, before that. We can talk and blame the economy, we can blame competition or lack of understanding or shop around behavior, but it doesn't matter. We just have to have an understanding of what our hope is for them to go from start to finish, or to pop in the middle but come out the end and take action. And we have to show up for them no matter how they get there or what stage they're at and how long it takes them to buy. So we love to think of this as essentially an orchestra of experiences, from the time they download your app to the minute they get on that airplane, WestJet, or collect their baggage. That was also seamless, and technology played a role, as did the human element. Or as if we are a subscription brand or we are selling something online, that it is seamless and wonderful along the way. And don't underestimate the social media and marketing piece of that purchase experience. We're not just talking about the end purchase. We're talking about everything that took place to get them there. And I would also argue that no matter what you sell, whether it's a one-off physiotherapy appointment or dog grooming session, or it's an ongoing accounting banking service, or you're a box subscription selling, you know, trinkets in the mail once a month to people who can't wait to get the next month's offering. We're all in the subscription business, where we are offering these experience makers and experience breakers, and we have to figure out how to get as many of the makers and the positive experiential things along the way as we can. So we're turning our organizations, I know this sounds lofty, but into a seamless kind of orchestra of experiences across those human and non-human touch points alike. We are not underestimating the human ones either, or trying to avoid them for the sake of productivity, which we'll get to in a second. So the goal is constant delight. And if that sounds lofty, okay, think about it in whatever is delightful for your customers. It might just be that they get what they expected, or that the delivery came on time. But if we can go a little further than that, and we're moving towards what their pain points and goals and aspirations truly are, we're probably meeting our own at the same time and really having lifelong advocates and repeat buyers. That lifetime customer value of the sticky content and the sticky customers goes up. So before we spend a dime on anything paid or even outsourced, photography, graphic design, whatever it is, SEO expertise, we know our customer value journey and we know what it looks like along the way. So I'm going to show you an example. And what we're talking about here is that the customer journey for the modern marketer, the modern business, becomes the foundation of our strategy to say, whoa, back it up. What tactics do we need to implement? It's not just based on 100% where we know our people to be, it's how we get them to, or how we fill the gaps in that journey along the way, looking at our website traffic, our bounce rates, our fall off points where they disappear out of view and we're like, hey, what happened? We had them all the way along and then they went and bought online instead of in store. Or they went and now the guy down the street is capturing my leads at the end of the day, or bidding against my keywords and stealing my final buyer, etc. So this pretty funnel is a universal marketing diagram: awareness, interest, decision, action. It is the age-old AIDA: top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom, where we're dumping in, or attracting, I should say, those new leads. That's our always on spend. If you talk to some paid advertisers or professional online marketers, they'll talk about how 50 to 80% of their budget is spent in that top of funnel zone. Why? Because again, we're always pushing in new people. For us, that's when we go into a new market or a new city, or when we're trying to now sell our virtual courses outside of the country or into Australia because we see an uptick there or a need, strategically, of course, not just puking dollars around and spraying and praying. But it's an always on evergreen type campaign where someone might be in that awareness or that top of funnel zone where we're targeting them with boosted posts or a paid ad campaign for 2 weeks at a time. And if they take action, great, they move along. Otherwise, we don't necessarily keep hammering them with the same kind of stuff. And then of course in the middle, it's the warmer leads. If we create a warm audience in our Facebook advertising, course number 4, we're essentially looking at people that know who we are and they've engaged with us before, or maybe they're on our mailing list, or maybe they bought from us a long time ago and they're aware, but they have yet to take that big action of either immediately and acutely or on the whole long-term with us. And then of course the hot leads at the bottom, which are the ones that we are being far more direct in our messaging to. We're really getting them to the finish line because they've been dancing around and we know we can get them there. And if we don't, our bad. We're wasting a lot of money on awareness only to not have them convert. They're on our website, thousands of people per day, like we're starting to experience because we're doing so much top of funnel awareness, social media, etc. But our conversion rates are going down. So what's happening? How do we isolate where they're falling off and why they're not buying? And that's a science that we're always paying attention to, as should you be. So this is what it looks like. And of course, in the past, if you look at the bottom row of those little graphics, we can see that, yeah, it used to be about, and this is different words for this funnel, awareness is a similar, and then evaluation acquisition, similar to interest, engagement, or as we were saying, action, and then advocacy is that repeat and true fans type thing. But billboards, phone book, in-store visits, again, physical gifting or thanks or follow-ups, phone calls, etc., in order to keep people thinking about us. I don't know if this is 1982 or 2019 for a lot of you, but many of us are still relying heavily on the physical, and that's okay. Many people know that that is where they do the best, when they are physically showing up in the yellow pages, or they have billboards on the highway or in town, and that is where they are seen, and they see a lot of driving traffic from that. Not just driving traffic, but they're driving traffic from it. Great. Don't discount those things if you know for sure that they're working. The old marketing adage of, I know 50% of my marketing's working, I just wish I knew which 50%, is a lot tougher to figure out when you're just in the physical realm. With the digital touch points and tactics, we can certainly measure right down to the core of it, like I mentioned in the last 2 modules. So yeah, we start with awareness tools like social. And then, we move into probably they're going to find us on our website because we're showing up on Google or Bing or whatever your desired search engine is. And then acquisition, they're purchasing right from social with social selling, or they're purchasing right from your website because it's seamless and easy and it gets them to the finish line. And it may not be an e-commerce purchase. Most of us don't have that in our business, but there is where they book their appointment, or they phone you, or they find you on Google Maps, and now they're in your door or in your realm. And then engagement, perhaps that's further getting them there through direct messaging, public messaging, answering their queries, having great FAQ pages, removing all barriers to sales and to purchase that we possibly can. And then advocacy, of course, where they can just see how much other people, again, what do we trust right now? More than anything, almost period, referrals. Those of our friends and colleagues and acquaintances will be the first thing that makes us buy or try something new. An email from a friend, hey, you should try this restaurant. Google reviews of people truly that you can tell aren't bots or bought, and they are authentic human beings raving about a certain service or company. That's who we trust. No longer banks, even academics, institutions, corporations, marketers. We have to recognize that the consumer owns this experience today, and it's up to them. So take that as you will. A review of some of these tactics that may be in your funnel or your customer journey. And again, just being really conscious that these can shift over time and be a lot less than what you see here. But many, many elements to it. So here's an example of a pet retailer. Let's see what's in their funnel. Let's say that at top of funnel, they're relying heavily on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, just social networks, and also some video that really shows who they are. It's pulling back the curtains on their business and their people. It's showcasing their personality and their values and their trust, and that's awesome. And we're getting to know them through really fun kind of campaigns. Their pillar there might be heavily weighted to the entertain or, educate perhaps. And then we move down and they're relying on their website and maybe some Facebook Lives where they do these weekly Ask Us Anything, or did you know about your pets, or meet the latest adopted puppies or something like that. And again, we're building just that much more affinity and trust for them. I subscribe to their e-newsletter. Now I'm really interested in who they are, and they're top of mind for me when they show up regularly, once a week or twice a month. And they're just giving me short, quick reads with something that I feel excited to open, not overwhelmed by, that is just a bunch of jargon or a bunch of like information that I didn't ask for. It's short, it's sweet, it's full of images, calls to action, maybe a coupon or an invitation, and that takes us to the action phase. So if I've been a subscriber for a while, or I'm a VIP customer, I'm being nurtured properly and rewarded accordingly and valued. And I feel great about that because I have a coupon or an insider tip or a private event invite or whatever it is that keeps me engaged and being a lifetime valuable customer for these guys. Okay, so I'm going to show you what ours looks like at Social School. If we're looking and we're operating the awareness phase, and let's say that our product in this particular journey is conference tickets, because we run a lot of events across Canada. And what that looks like at the awareness stage, again, is social feeds. Lots of content, storytelling, value adds. We do a lot of tip sheets, quick little how-to GIFs and animations, but anything we can to be the resource. We always remind ourselves of that. What's our job? Be resourceful, be helpful, always be serving. How can we make people feel like we're solving their problems and taking a weight off their shoulders? And then as a result, getting to know them, building trust, and hopefully getting to work with them. Of course, we work on our SEO from an organic standpoint. SEO is always organic, but I'm just pointing that out, that we're not paying for leads or to show up on Google with someone who's selling us a line. We're just simply working at creating great content on our blog and our e-newsletters and our social feeds, and then optimizing all of our pages, keywords, titles, tags, like we'll get deep into in course number 2, so that we naturally rise up in the rankings over time. Not just when someone's searching Social School direct search, and of course, hopefully we show up, but when they're searching Instagram marketing course or SEO course or digital learning or something, that we're there because we've optimized accordingly. And then of course some paid search, so that when they're at that top of funnel journey and they don't even know what they're looking for, let alone how to type the right words in, which explains me when I'm searching for anything outside of my industry, tire changing people. You show up in the right ways, using their language, not your own industry jargon. Next up, as we move people along into the interest phase, well, this is where we're hoping that our website does its job, and we're continuously monitoring, optimizing, and improving it as we go, tightening it or expanding it as needed, or really rethinking the nav the moment someone's confused. Okay, I shouldn't say the moment, because you can't let the 1% of complainers or people who are not getting something make you revamp your whole strategy. But at least every 6 months, we're completely overhauling a page that's not working the way we think it should, and constantly paying attention to site speed as well. A pop-up that again can be really tasteful, like the one on the very far left there. That is our pop-up built in Sumo as a web form that pops up, as I mentioned earlier, just as someone's exiting the page. So that's how we've set the pop-up. It populates our parent mailing list. Even better if we created some kind of, you know, radio buttons or a selector tool drop down that they could choose what they want to hear. However, we're trying to get them there as fast as we can. And if you're like me, you know, go to download something or fill out something, and you get walked through this epic list of information you have to give them right off the hop, right down to your salary, and you're like, I'm out. No, lose my email address, forget it. So up to you. Even asking for someone's last name can be a deterrent. Do you really need their last name? Probably not, but a first name is key so that you can use merge tags of the first name when you go to contact them in your email marketing. So hi, Kelly. So glad you connected, blah, blah, blah. Beamer is a neat tool that we use. That's the one in the middle that says hot news from social school. That's just a really cool sort of news reader that you can put on your website if you have, you know, timely news to be posted. Maybe you only want one to show up at a time, you remove it, and then the next time you have an announcement, it's there. But be wary of it. We've cut ours off for now for a little bit, and we've decided to rethink this. We used to post shortcuts to all our blog posts. But then we really have to ask ourselves, when someone lands on our homepage or directed to another page through a paid ad that cost us quite a bit to get them there, and they're giving us their time, do we really want to bump them off to our blog right away or get them right into the meat of that page? So just thinking about that as much as you can. We do a ton of blog promotion through our social content and our e-newsletter. We're constantly pointing towards the 8 to 12 blog posts we write per month internally and with local marketers, faculty, friends, etc. And then finally, that bottom one is the pure chat box, which does not automatically pop up, though we could make it if we wanted it to, but it's just down there as a helpful little button, a little quotation bubble that says need help. And then immediately someone, and trust me, they do, maybe some of you did, pop into that, and we can immediately answer their questions, which is like, it's mandatory. It's not a hassle for us or a pain. For us, we see this as a given that of course we're going to serve those people as fast and as much as we can when they get there, because we're honored that they're interested. Okay, next up, what happens in the decision phase for us? Or what are we trying to reach them with? Well, certainly our e-newsletter, which now where they're subscribed to ideally, and we've got week 1 of each month is our how-to issue. Week two, we call it our content roundup. Week 3 is best in class, where we're highlighting awesome campaigns and companies and brands and you know, tip sheets, etc., and people. And then week 4, on your radar. That's where we'll slide in promotional messages, or you know, but we do it in a way that here's our upcoming events. So we're trying to be helpful as opposed to buy. So lots of, you know, attractive graphics, as little copy as we can, headlines, subheadlines, and calls to action that we get them clicking through to our site is the goal, of course, and then hopefully lost in the content and coming back for more. I'm going to sneeze, I'm sorry. What's the bottom one there, Social Winnipeg? Well, that was a quiz. So you land on our conference page, you're not totally sure what you want to do or if this is right for you. So we built a really fun quiz and you know, embedded it on the site so that it would quell any fears or get them closer to understanding which ticket made the most sense and which day of the conference they were geared for, etc. And then bottom there, we just are constantly building infographics in Canva, our DIY graphic design tool. We are not Illustrator experts or Adobe, you know, Photoshop, etc. wizards. We just pull together the information that we're constantly researching and creating into something that is as legible and easy and fun to read as possible. And we all know how much people like facts, stats, numbers, icons, and imagery versus long articles. Finally, what are we showing up with in the action phase or the bottom of the funnel? Well, this is where the red red things come in. I've highlighted those as the physical touch points. Sure. Have we had physical contact up until now? Absolutely. In fact, we hope we have. Someone will wander in, or we meet people at events, or we're on the phone all the time, or the pure chat messaging system, or our Facebook messaging, Instagram messaging, of course. But this is where we truly try to have the live support that people need, that we would consider bottom of funnel, help them make their decision, and help them get to what they want, even if it's not with us, no problem. But this is where we constantly direct people to the right professionals or the right agencies if what they need is outsourced support. It's the abundance mentality for us that we really try to practice. And I think personally, I believe that really comes back around, and it's who we want to be as people. So that's one of our core values. Hopefully that shines through. And whether we work with that person or not, it's goodwill and it's fostering community, which is something that we truly believe in and seems to go a lot further than scarcity. Promo codes, incentives, calls to actions, and then more direct conversion ads that are, again, retargeting that hot audience that's been on our website already but has not yet bought. We'll go deep into that in advanced Facebook advertising, of course, but how are we recapturing or retargeting those people in a fun, hopefully not annoying way, to say like last chance, or you know you want to come, like what can we do, or a coupon or something, because once again, if they've been hanging out on your website and you don't have a pixel firing to create a custom audience in Facebook and Instagram to retarget those people, you're really missing out on the leads that have been dancing around in consideration phase but have yet to convert. And remember, off the hop, I said that the journey has changed so much so that consumers, all of us, are spending more time in the consideration phase than ever before, because we have more choice and you know, a lot more content coming at us. So we're considering for longer, and we're just more choosy. We used to be a lot more inclined to buy what we were being told to buy through advertising and promotion and whatever it was, spin. And now we're waiting for those referrals or advocates of a brand to come through and often tell us what to buy, or for someone within the company to show up and help us get there. I don't trust this enough. Tell me that you're human. On the weekend, I chatted with a lady who she said it right out. She said, I know what's on your website. I've seen everything, but I just wanted to talk to someone to make sure I'm making the right choice. And I was like, I get it. I'm the same. I just need someone's voice to, you know, reiterate for me that I'm about to make a big purchase, and I don't want to just do it through a bot or a website or just that inhuman, I haven't spoken to anyone yet. And some people also love that. They're like, amazing, I didn't have to get on the phone or meet with anyone, I'm in. Anyway, we have to remember that everybody's buying journey and expectations are different. Most importantly, the true customer journey is the one that they are in control of, whether they want more human contact and you're there for them, or they want none at all, or they just want it to be a 3-step checkout, or they expect all their questions answered. We know that if you ask anyone in a restaurant how they got there, how they heard about this, pervasively, they'll have a different reason. My mom told me about it. Oh, I saw a billboard. I got something in the mail. I think I saw them on social. I don't know. I just stumbled in. What? But I tried so hard at the trade show last week to get you guys all here. No one was there. So it's very interesting, and we can't fight it, but it is important to know what's happening. I'm going to tell you a quick story here about a line that is in my head, and I hope always will be, because I love it so much. So we had a company called Wild Prairie Soap from Edmonton come through our social retreat several months ago. And the owner, Tanya, is just a lovely lady. And she's got an incredible business with multiple retail locations and a massive online and wholesale market in Asia. And so she had just hired a new marketer named Annie, who was going to, you know, help her take her marketing to the next level. And as part of their journey through our intensive 3-day social strategy retreat, we sat down and we, you know, first had to back it up and discuss how are people coming to us and what are they hearing, and what is we even did some research in market to say, like, have you heard of Prairie Soap? What do you know about it? How did you come here? Why did you buy that? And one of the absolute most telling lines was from a customer, a young girl, say she was maybe mid-20s. And she said, we said, how did you hear about Wild Prairie Soap, as she was purchasing? Oh, I don't know. Do you see their ads? No, I don't see any ads. Ad blocker. Oh, you must have seen us on social. No, I'm not really on social. I don't know if it's the product that made me buy it. I just know that I love the hands that made it. So even though this girl is not exposed to some of the tireless marketing efforts that this company is doing, she still got wind of the fact that the people behind the company are committed to no animal testing and environmentally friendly practices and a forward-thinking mentality and an inclusive workplace, whatever it was. But those are the things she quoted as being like important to her. I just know that I love the woman behind it, the hands that made it. So people are more in love with the story of the founders, Connor and Leslie from Camp Brand Goods, Steve Jobs, if that's your thing, than they necessarily are even with the product. And those of us that are doing a great job of storytelling, maybe it's just a podcast, you're winning people over, and that's your product differentiation right there. They're willing to pay more for it, and they will stick around. So funnels or journeys must incorporate the places and things that the actual buyer experienced, and recognizing that very much of that early phase stuff, even though I described elsewhere, otherwise in our social school journey, are human driven. That is very much what's happening outside of our control, is word of mouth referrals, social conversations, friends, advocating for something, or just someone voyeuring on your Google reviews and seeing how you respond to the good and the bad. We all get so humpty about responding to a negative review and, oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind and lose a lot of sleep. And what should I say? Well, just respond naturally and be real, and don't be afraid to give your side of the story without fighting them on it. Recognize their concern 100%, but you don't have to be a doormat either. Thank you so much. As you know, we've talked about this offline, and we really think we've done what we can, or maybe again, don't fight them on it, but don't be afraid to be aware of the fact that other people are reading this, and how you respond to a negative review is so powerful. But don't ignore your 5 stars either. Those people have gone out of their way to rave about you. Thank them, and don't just copy paste a thank you. Be real. Experience starts, of course, for someone new with how they see you operating in the world. All right, so an exercise for you in your workbook. If you can outline the main tools and touch points within your journey, that's amazing. Start to identify what those tactics were. Remember the tactics being your social channels, your e-newsletter, blog, is it podcast, is it paid ads, printed collateral, events, trade shows, pop-ups, whatever that looks like, physical and digital. And they might overlap entirely. You might only have 2 in each category, and they might be the same top, middle, bottom. But hopefully you can start to think about other tactics or technology that you might incorporate, especially when we get to additional Google Analytics stuff here, when you see they're falling off at a certain place. So what could you add to your website very tastefully and minimally and concisely, that can potentially, not have people bounce so often, or get them to the next page, or direct them there sooner with a landing page or a contest or something. All right, number 7, 2 to go here. We're doing well. Paid reach. Oh boy. This is just such a hot topic, because it was not that long ago, but it feels like eons ago in the social media world, that Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook announced what every marketer screamed and deemed Facebook zero. The end of organic reach is here. When really what he was saying at the start of 2018 was that no longer would Facebook be a place where brands and promoted content or promotional content could take over. They were going back to the experience of the users. And they had to, because as users, we put on our personal hat here, we're there to be entertained and to connect with family and friends and people that we love, not to be advertised to. And if they continue down the path of really, almost unchecked, affordable advertising or promoted content from brands and business pages, then chances are we're going to bounce. We're going to head off of Facebook and move over to Snapchat at the time, which was super hot, or just spend more time on Instagram or a competitor or something else, TikTok. So yes, brands were we're encouraged or told that we needed to pay to play if we wanted our content to be seen. And this hurt, because many of us had been, for one, sort of forced off a personal page and cited to create a business page, which we should have been, because that's a more professional looking page with amazing tools. But also now told that your organic reach of your business post was going to be close to 0, maybe 10%. So let's talk about what that looks like. Let's say you're doing really great at building your Facebook fans, and the same applies to Instagram now, and you had 1,000 fans. Great. You're creating content with variation and quality and all the right rules of assets and imagery going into it. And you're maybe getting a 10% organic reach because you've got a lot of engagement from your true fans and a small enough audience that you're still seeing a lot of people like and engage with your content. Unlike Coca-Cola, with tens of millions of fans that would have like a 0 or 0.01% organic reach. So what we would see in that instance is, let's say 100 people would even be served up that post you worked so hard to create, one of 20 of your original posts for the month. And 100 people even get served it in the newsfeed as they're scrolling. Why? Because the algorithm has to filter what we're seeing. Because at any given moment, the average Facebook user can see up to 500,000 posts in a 2-minute scroll. So of course they have to filter it down to what it thinks you want to see from your personal, in terms of personal posts, and then it's just going to pepper in a few promoted posts. Next time you're scrolling your Facebook or Instagram feed, take note of how often, usually for me it's 1 in 7 or 8, is a promoted post or an ad that's showing up in the newsfeed. We're not talking about sidebar ads or other types of advertising, just those newsfeed posts. So 100 people even see it, let's say 10% engage with your content because it's really awesome and compelling, etc. So 10 people do something with that post of the 100 that only saw it. And maybe that's a like, you got 3 likes, maybe you got a comment or 2 comments, maybe you even got a share. And then maybe you got 2 click-throughs or 3. And you spent all that time to get 3 people to your website. It's painful. So this is where effective paid reach and promoted content is absolutely imperative, where we see massive gains from the companies that start to better their organic content or their look and feel of their feeds and the reality or the authenticity of it. And this goes for IGTV, Instagram stories, Facebook newsfeed, Instagram posts, LinkedIn articles, Twitter posts. All of these pieces of content can be promoted or boosted, as we say. $5 a post, a $200 monthly boosting budget can go a long way to now not only being able to ensure that gets seen by the certain amount of people based on how much money you're going to put behind it, but it also can be targeted to a specific audience that you've pre-created in Facebook Business Manager. So powerful. So I can now have that post specifically show up to those men aged 35 to 40 that are going to be watching the Super Bowl on Saturday, or maybe even more powerfully, that were at the Banff Springs last week for a marketing conference and do not yet like my page and are interested in learning or luxury goods, whatever it is. Or people that were not just in a geographical location or continuously are, but people that were on my website last week or 6 months ago and haven't yet bought this. It's incredible when we create our audiences properly, what we can do with quick boosted content to all sorts of people that we cycle through. So yes, the absolute undervalued truth is that all of this front-end content that we're working so hard to create as marketers today must be supported by back-end insights, optimization, and then paid campaigns. I heard a fellow say it really pointedly towards the end of last year, where he said, if you're not advertising on the internet in the decade ahead, you're losing out. And, he said, and by that, I mean Google, Facebook, and Instagram, who own 85% of the paid eyeballs on the internet. It's a great place to put your dollars if you're going to allocate some to online spending. So what are we talking about? Right brain meets left brain, art meets science, the front end organic content meeting the paid back end reach. And that's who's winning. It's not that I'm telling you, you got to give Mark Zuckerberg more money. But if we want to be seen and we want our content to actually do something for us, it's very disheartening if it, doesn't actually lead to increased revenue, sales, foot traffic, web traffic. And by putting a bit of money behind it, we can get there. Remembering also that social platforms are not actually entertainment companies. They are the world's most powerful advertising companies. They know so much about us, more than the government ever will. And it's not just because of the age-old days where, you'd fill out your Facebook profile and say, Kelly is eating toast, but also these are the books I like, the movies I like, the TV shows, the people, whatever. It just knows now, the platform, based on what we click, share, read, engage with, comment on, what we like. Hence the filter bubble of these like myopic views that we start to form, which is not great, especially when you think about US politics, for example, or our own Canadian politics, if that's where you're from. However, this is what's necessary, again, for Facebook to serve you up the kind of stuff that you actually want to see, just like Netflix does. This is AI or machine learning and algorithms at play. So thinking about that and then playing within them, knowing that this is where so many people are, and why wouldn't we show up where they are? Of course, then the overarching sentiment here is drip into just the right inboxes, news feeds, direct messaging, instead of spraying it and targeting it to exactly those who we know the message was designed for, and starting there. Back in my journalism days, which then parlayed into a PR company, I was always just blown away, especially when I was still in the newsroom, and I'd have friends in PR say, I've got something coming, I've got something coming for you. And I'd be like, great, is it a new can of Nestea? Go buy an ad. Just kidding. Stay tuned. Okay. And then I knew that at their gigantic multinational PR firm or corporation, they were massaging the heck out of this story or this perfectly written press release with quotes and all the, the things that they needed. And I'd get it. And it was so not newsy. And they could have literally just sent me an email, but the format to them was so imperative. And of course, we know that professionalism is important, but without thinking about the more important piece, which was, who is this targeted for? If it's going to be targeted for Kelly's page 6 column, what does she write about? Let's show her that we actually know what she writes about and why this would be a good fit. And if it's for the Globe and Mail, let's give them an exclusive angle with some photos that are just theirs that they can run with, because nobody wants a story that everybody else is getting. And if we apply those same rules of media relations and PR and pitching to our content, and we think about our audience as individuals, we know what we should be, or who we're targeting first with what content, and serving maybe rather than targeting. And then we go create the campaign and the content versus the other way around. Who are we sending this to? I don't know, but it looks perfect in my mind. So we're using these powerful tools for our benefit. Retargeting, as I mentioned, someone that showed up on your website, that pixel fires. What is a pixel? A typical laptop screen is 1 million pixels, little tiny pieces of information that show up all at once. And one of those pixels on your website is being replaced with a Facebook pixel. The second one you have firing on your website is a Google Analytics pixel. Both of those, every time your website loads, the IP address and information about that person's browsing and user behavior is sent back to Facebook or to Google Analytics. 2 pixels that we all need to have on our sites, firing on every page of the site, meaning it's inserted into the header code of every page. And we can do that with one copy paste of a 10-digit code into our Squarespace, Wix, WordPress websites. We'll get into that much deeper in the coming courses. However, don't assume that then someone has your name and your address. They don't. That data is scrubbed down to the fact that it's a simple IP address and we can retarget it with our ads now. Are we crazy not to? Absolutely. In the same way that we're going to send someone an email, an e-newsletter because they subscribed, we're going to send them an ad or a piece of promoted content on Instagram because they were on our website yesterday. And if we're not using these powerful remarketing, retargeting strategies and audience types, we're missing out, because you're essentially then constantly working with cold interest-only audiences, people that we think like digital marketing. Well, not people that have been hanging around my site and are really wanting to buy. There it is again. So just thinking about how our paid content works people through that. Turn it sideways and think, okay, what would I kind of promote or advertise? What would my message and what would my creative assets look like in a Facebook post that was designed for awareness in a new market, to a new client base, with a new product launch? And then what does it look like in the interest phase for that warmer audience? And what would I actually say, or what would it look like at the action phase? Super important. And most of us are not at all approaching our promoted or boosted posts or our paid ad campaigns, which is next level, phase 2 of spending money on the internet, social advertising. And we're really missing out. And anytime someone says to me, yeah, I've tried boosting my post, it doesn't work, or the reach I got was terrible, okay, well, let's talk about how much you're actually, for one, creating awesome audiences first, and then two, mapping it out with the right kind of content where you're moving people through from a warm or cold to warm to hot audience. So it's your turn. Throw it down. What are you thinking you can allocate possibly? And this may be difficult to declare just yet, but it's important to start thinking about. You don't know what it costs necessarily for your, heavily competitive content about selling craft beer to be posted or boosted properly on Facebook and Instagram. Maybe some of us can spend $5 to get a boosted post reach of 3,000 to 10,000 people for 7 days every day. But for a highly competitive market or interest, if you're targeting all the same people, you might only get 500 to 1,500 people in your boosted post reach per day for 7 days. So you're going to have to adjust accordingly. A lot of us, however, just like with our Google ad campaigns, can adjust our keywords and our audiences to find those ones that are being overlooked. Or maybe we're in a smaller town or city center where there isn't as much Facebook, Instagram, Google advertising happening. So we're laughing because our cost per click or cost per mil, per 1,000 views is, I think, a Latin word, mil, is just so much lower than what we would think, or in other city centers like Toronto, Vancouver. And beyond that, how does that compare when I spend that $200 a month on boosted posts, $10 per post? How much is that going to take me so much further than the $1,000 worth of printed postcards and postage with Canada Post for my mail drop campaign? Once you start comparing these things, it's no wonder that we're shifting away from traditional advertising into digital, as are the multinationals. If you flip through the front pages of, InStyle magazine and you note that those first 20, 30 pages are full page ads, those same multinational companies, cars, beauty products, fashion, are moving those budgets to the online space because they know that's where the eyeballs are. Why wouldn't they advertise on Instagram and in stories and in Facebook Messenger versus a print mag when so much of their readership is online now anyway? So it's not as cheap, as affordable as it used to be advertising on social, but it's certainly still miles ahead, I hate to say, because we value our traditional media partners like crazy, but choose wisely. If you can have a mix of a bit of radio and TV perhaps, or print, and work with your print advertising specialist or sales rep to say, okay, I want to see numbers and stats on how this ad's performing. I know the right questions to ask. I want to be able to A/B test something or to iterate it if needed, just like I can with my Facebook advertising. Within 24 hours, I can change something. And I want to know, your online audience with real numbers, or your print audience, whatever it is. But just asking the right questions, of course. Okay, so we've got a promoted post budget. This will get clearer and clearer as we create these ads, of course, but just start thinking again about what could your paid ads budget be across Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Google. We're going beyond just boosting a post in the news feed to get it seen. And that would say promoted if you scroll your own news feed, into creating killer ad campaigns. We'll get deep into in course number 4, but man, we create cold, warm, hot audiences, and we also create cold, warm, hot objectives or ad campaign types, where campaign objective for a cold is simply awareness, and the assets and the conversions and the way the ad campaign is optimized works accordingly for that cold, new audience. Whereas the warm might be more like interest or website clicks, traffic objective. And then the bottom one might be conversion objective, where your ad campaign, thanks to Facebook's algorithm and magic, is optimized for people that are ready to buy. So really, really cool when we get past boosted posts and into strategic ad campaigns. For us, our minimum and our requirement is 10x. ROAS, so return on ad spend of not just a 10-time return, but ideally 30x. And when we do great ads and we do them well, we get there. So if we run $1,000 worth of ads in Regina, we know we're going to sell at least $10,000 worth of tickets or registrations. And ideally, it's more like 30,000. This is how powerful these are. And if we can do it, anyone can do it. But it's certainly important to know what you're doing before you go puking money at the internet. So take it or leave it. This is in your spreadsheet again as the next tab over from the ones we looked at in module 2, a sample paid reach budget. And this is important for you to say, okay, this is adding up to $200 or $1,000 a month in my paid campaigns and my boosted posts. If you're like us, you're throwing as many credit cards at the problem as you can. We have 4 or 5 credit cards in play at all times on our Facebook ads. And there are months where we easily spend $10,000 to $15,000 a month. And, you know, there's a reason for that, because again, we're seeing just such a huge return. So thinking about this a little differently than maybe you have in the past. If you're spending a lot of money on swag or promoted, you know, materials, or even just memberships sometimes that aren't as valuable as you think, really rethinking those budgets in terms of like staff in-house that can really work this for you as opposed to contractors sometimes. And then of course, digital promoted posts and ads, and perhaps, you know, anything else that you need to do to support all of those things like copywriting, photography, etc., in a new level or at a new place. So redirecting some of those spends sometimes isn't as hard as people think when they realize how much they're spending in their marketing program that isn't leading to massive sales and conversions. And then here's the next tab. So this is when you're ready to dive into paid advertising. This is what we use to map it out. Once again, if we can have it on paper to have a lay of the land. Can we do this straight in Facebook? Sure, but it's more difficult to see the overarching 30,000-foot view of our ad campaigns at any given time, or per campaign, like this one would be maybe our Saskatoon ads, if it's just all already living in the ads platform. It's very nice to have an at-a-glance look at it, especially if your copywriter is doing, you know, the writing and then they're handing it over to the ad builder or the outsourced contractor or whatever it is. So I recommend that you consider using something like this. And the gray columns at the top are denoted as the same as the way you work through building a Facebook or an Instagram or a LinkedIn ad campaign. You claim your campaign and the objective with it. And then the next piece is the darker gray that's all in the ad set level that we'll get into with your time frame, your audience that you've pre-built in your targeting, you know, the imagery that you're going to use, etc. And then the final piece is being the assets. Okay, so we're paying to play in all the right spaces, including private spaces. We can't underestimate those private channels that are garnering more and more attention. Why? Again, privacy, control, you know, having something that is not so public all the time. People are turning to Messenger, WeChat, Kik, the, you know, multiple direct messaging platforms that are being bought up and swallowed up like crazy by Facebook. If we look at the top 6 social channels or social networks in the world, the top 3 are social platforms and the next 3 are messaging platforms, including Facebook Messenger, WeChat, and why can't I remember the name of the billion-dollar one that Facebook bought? It'll come to me. I don't use it anymore, but it's in my phone. And so we know that we have to think about these private channels and how they're affecting our consumer behavior and time on social. Can we show up there? Yeah, we absolutely can. You can advertise in Facebook Messenger. You can advertise in multiple different places that are a little bit less public than we've been able to do in the past. So consider that as an advertising placement. Finally, systems and measurement. Here we go. So we know the numbers that matter to us when we're paying attention to, of course, our front-end marketing, and then the back-end stats that we're trying to, you know, benchmark and grow. And this can be specific to our website. It can be specific to just social, but ideally it's deeper than that, and it incorporates the entire user journey. What content is converting really well, both paid and organic? And then what is our return on marketing investment on the whole when we look at everything that goes into our marketing program, from staff to spending to, you know, asset development and outsource, to the return on ad spend. So the actual conversion of an ad, and what is that cost per click costing us versus how much revenue it's generating that we are sure to track thanks to, you know, just proper analytics setup. So we're seeking out as much data insights and data-driven knowledge as we can at every turn. Knowing our insights intimately and where to look for them is so key. You don't need a really robust social listening or paid reporting tool here. You really don't. If you are using something like Hootsuite to automate and schedule your messages or all of your social content, you're going to have a reporting piece in it. Ditto for individual social platforms, like Facebook Pages has incredible insights right in the business page, as does Instagram right in the app. And then Iconosquare would be one where we can just see Instagram insights with a little bit more detail as opposed to all of our social channels. And then of course, Google Analytics like crazy. So I'm going to hit it home again. We need our analytics properly set up, and we should have a website. The website is ideally the last bastion, the place we send people to, the endpoint goal. We don't want to just have them hang out in social unless we know we're just quick social selling and it's working for us. But most of us would have the desire to get someone to click through to our site where they're going to convert. Whether your conversion is a sale, a subscribe, another kind of web form filled out, a contact record or a contact form filled, a messenger, asking for directions, whatever that is. Maybe it's just reading your blog post before you sell something online. They're getting to know you. Your conversions are unique to you, and we've got to know what's happening on our site to see if we're meeting them. It's free to use. You do not have to be an expert for this at all. And as I've said a few times, just knowing that it's firing in the right way, and then understanding the acquisition, the behaviors, and the conversion sections is so important. Where are they coming from? What are they doing? And is it working? I also love just little simple snapshots, because God knows we don't report if it's too complicated. So consider getting away from what you may think you need or you've used in the past that's like a 20-page report every month. It's wasted time, unless this is what your client or your multinational corporation demands and it's your job. But for most of us, we're seeking snapshot information and easy benchmarks of month over month or quarter over quarter improvement and change. Top 3 performing posts, bottom 3 performing posts, pages, audiences, ad types. And then we can converse with our team who are on the front end art development and the back end analytics and promoted posts, or maybe you're everything, an all-in-one shop like many of us are, but those insights dictate how we change and adjust. Not to throw the baby out with the bathwater all the time, but to iterate constantly and to just know that things are moving in the right directions. This is just a quick little email snapshot I received from Google Analytics, and I can quickly say, sweet, we're on track. Or again, if I notice, because I do try to go into analytics at least once a week, if not more, but this would confirm what I already know to be happening. It's an easy forward to my team, or it's a quick way to go, wait a minute, why is our bounce rate suddenly at 42%? Oh, we've got to go in, we've got a security thing happening, but we also have other alerts set up for that. So a quick little overview here. Audience would be the first piece that we're paying attention to. I'm just in a back-end snapshot of Google Analytics with a bit more detail than we've looked at so far. So yes, I'm paying attention to traffic, page views, sessions, users, new versus returning visitors. You can see that in that pie chart, our new visitors is 77% of our traffic. Why? Well, because we're running a lot of ads, cold lead development at this time of year. Whereas further on, it's ideally returning visitors that we're engaging with again. We aim for a 50-50 mix there. We want people coming back all the time, especially if it's our member site, which is set up on a different analytics. So we can look at many, many things here, and everything from the behavior flow that I looked at or told you about earlier, the demographics and interests and geo factors of those people, what devices they're using, their mobile versus desktop split, what technology they're using if you care about that, etc. All sorts of things in this audience section that help us then go create content or build better ad groups or audience groups even in Facebook and Instagram too. Next up, the acquisition section. Where do they come from? And such a cool thing to be looking at. Top channels there. Direct search. Someone is typing in social school. Well, that's cool. That means we did a heck of a lot of brand awareness and live events all through 2019 that are now parlaying into, well, I've heard about that company. I can type it in and I know them by name. Amen. But also it means that people are, seeing us on social or elsewhere, and then they're typing in our direct search terminology to find us on Google, which is great. And hopefully we show up for them and someone isn't bidding against us. And if they are, we better do a better job of showing up above. Organic search would be when someone is typing in some search terms related to us, but not our direct name. Company name. Social goes without saying. Referral coming from other places like our email or our, we're sending an email marketing, they're clicking on it. They're coming from our social or direct ads, etc. Paid, of course, would be 100% paid search, which is Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram, etc., whatever we're running at that time. If I click into any of those channels, I can see specifically what post drove what if I'm using UTM tags properly, which we'll get into in Google Ads, course number 3. So we can see all sorts of data, and it's really important to be aware of this. Search Console is something I want to point out there in acquisition. That is another tool that you can go see separately, or you can see a snapshot of Search Console in Google Analytics. The reason I love Google so much is, again, the suite of things they offer. So Google Search Console, you can just Google it and set it up or get it firing, but it's basically a complete comprehensive look, a diagnostic snapshot of your website. Do you have broken links? Any 404s? What pages are loading really slow? It's just everything you'd want to know about the back end of your website so you can work on it and improve it. That's going to affect site speed, dwell time, all the rest of it that we're seeing in our analytics. So acquisition, of course, is beyond important, and understanding where people come from is never going to be something we can ignore. And then behavior, what do they do when they get there? This is going to change, of course, depending on what campaigns you're running and what you're hoping that the actions that they'll take and what you're optimizing your campaigns, your content, and your website for. But you just want to be sure of, essentially that what you're seeing is what you think is going on and that you're moving and trending in the right direction. We have lots of other things in the behavior section, like site speed. That's where we're going to go see it, where we're at and what pages are maybe bogging down and what we can do about them, as well as, site content and how it's performing. Finally, the conversion section, where we can set up goals. And this is really cool, but most of us don't have this firing. So we would say our goal is first they land here, then they land there, then they land there, and they do that. Or even just one homepage to blog page, goal reached. And as I said in the earlier modules, we can assign a value to that as well if we want, monetarily, and now we know what's happening. So this is really important to work towards. It may not be Google Analytics 101 for you, but if we have our goals set up here, we can also work towards those in our content efforts and really report on it well. And man, are you ever a valuable marketer when you can start to report on your ROAS and your ROMI and what's working and what's not, because you're tying it back to that month or that quarter's sales goals or business goals. Making sense of it all, essentially what we're saying and doing is, having an understanding of who is visiting our site, what are they doing when they get there, where are they coming from, when did it take place, but really importantly, why. And if you can anecdotally, but also, analytically answer those questions, especially the last one, you're laughing. I know why there was a spike that day because we're running this campaign or contest, or we saw this happen, or it was this live event. And I also know that people really love when we do a live where we're walking down the street, not sitting like two talking heads in a fake studio, or, things that get shared, or that was that viral post with the quote that people love, the SEO joke, whatever it was. So you become a really valuable front and back end marketer when you can make sense of these analytics with your own words. What are we doing? Well, we're essentially trying to be smarter than a bot. So we're, again, trying to get people to our site. It's the final stop. It's where we want them to land, and it's integral that we know why. Optimizing and aiming for those meaningful actions, not just likes, comments, shares, surface level vanity metrics, is marketing today. And if you can speak that language and aim for that in your staff and your teams, great. Conversion, conversion, conversion. So we're moving from social data to social intelligence. That just means that we're combining what we know to be working, what we're hearing from people, what we're seeing in the market, constantly iterating and being creatively inventive with our campaigns. Otherwise, we're just robots trying to repeat the same amount of content and staring at the data. And we all know that it has to be a blend of art and science for modern marketing to really shine. And there's just as many agencies that are creating spectacular, beautiful websites and social content without any care for whether it's seen, acted on, conversion oriented, etc. Oh, that's up to you. No, we don't help you post that video. We just made it for $10,000. So be valuable front and back. Couple questions for you here as we round the home stretch. What data and insights matter most to you? What is it that is actually something you need to use as your starting point, perhaps your 3 metrics or improvement areas? And then what can you work into? And don't worry too much about this if you're doing our SEO course next, because we've got a full checklist here that goes deep into things like website optimization and optimization, site speed, UX, UI. Thinking about the same thing with our social channels. What do we know anecdotally or from experience that's working or not? And be careful with that, of course. We often have clients in my agency world would say, no, people love it when we do this. And we'd have to say, well, if we look at your top 3 performing posts or your bottom, actually that's totally not what's working. I know you like it. Let's build on that. But here's the actual data behind it. But find out why they love it. Maybe that's where they're shining and you've got to give it more time as well. Commit to your campaigns and your new ideas. Don't just try IGTV, be shy about it, and then jam from it after 3 videos because you're not sure anyone's watching. They will. Time online and time committed to platforms is the #1 growth and SEO strategy above all. All right, and then what's your process for making the report happen? Who's writing it? Who's doing it? And how can you keep it as seamless and actionable as possible versus a daunting chore that never gets done? We're going to end with some analytics and automation tools that simply help us deliver better content. As I said earlier, scheduled content makes it happen. Live content, keeps it real. And we're going to look at a few automation tools that make our lives easier. We go deep into these, of course, in our social media marketing courses, but I want to mention a couple. Some of our favorites include the ones that are right in platform. So you're not leaving the Facebook environment to schedule your posts. Why? Well, because Facebook Business Manager is amazing and it has schedule, draft, pre-schedule, post date, pre-boost tools right within its publishing tools section. And sometimes if you're thinking quality over quantity and just really investing your time in creating the best kind of content for that platform, I'm not really interested in copy pasting it into HubSpot or Hootsuite, only to not totally see that it's going to show up perfectly the way I want it to, where I can remove the URL once it's populated the image, and I can ensure that the hashtags are there or not, and that I've pre-boosted it to just the right audience for when it goes live next week or next month. And I can't do that with as much control in an automation tool. For the rest of us, though, we might think, no, in order to get it done, and I'm limited in resources, hallelujah, I need to be in Hootsuite, and that's where I'm going to schedule everything. I'm just going to monitor it. It's not set it and forget it, but I'm going to monitor it as it's going out and going live and ensuring that it looks okay. I can always adjust it if I need to, or just figure out what I did wrong for next time. And then at least I am relying on a scheduler that handles all of my social platforms at once. Totally fine. The last one I'll mention there is the Instagram scheduling tools that are as powerful as what we find Facebook Business Manager to be for our Facebook posting or scheduling. And our go-tos are Later or Planoly. Later's a Vancouver company, which is super cool. And they have incredible, you can plan out your grid, your 9 grid of Instagram posts for the feed. You can pre-schedule your stories. You can edit them with all sorts of really neat graphics tools. And you can lay it all out in a calendar view and drag and drop and move things around as you need to. And then again, schedule them in advance so that they go out when you need them to. Post when your audience is online, not just when you are. If your morning from 6 to 8 a.m. is nothing but like kids and chaos, but your audience comes online heavy at 6:30 to 7:15, you better show up for them then. And you can see that in your insights, so you know you need to. And it's not going to be some on-the-fly crap post that you just came up with in the car. It's going to be well thought out, and it's going to be strategically and systematically worked into the rest of your content. That's why we schedule. So CoSchedule, I've mentioned earlier, is a fantastic tool as well. It acts like a multi-platform dashboard too, and it also integrates beautifully with WordPress. They have a WordPress plugin for this, so that if you wanted to, in the back end of your WordPress dashboard, you could schedule all your social content and your blog content to go live on your WordPress website as well. And I'm just a big fan of the calendar view where I can drag and drop and move things around because it's a visual planner versus just a list of scheduled posts. So that's a really good one. As I mentioned, Facebook Business Manager, and if you look on the left there, and Facebook Business Manager is not a Facebook business page. We know we're in Business Manager when we have the gray bar on top, not the blue bar, and it's dead easy to set up. It's free. You should absolutely be using Business Manager and pull your existing business pages into it. From there, you pull in your people and your ad accounts, and you're laughing. You set up your pixel, add your Instagram page, you're doing great. So if we look over on the right side where we're looking at a snapshot of a business page managed out of Business Manager, I can see publishing tools there as one of my tabs on the top bar. And that is where I can create those drafts I mentioned, or pre-boosted scheduled posts, etc. Twitter Analytics is pretty awesome. It's built right into Twitter. If you're a heavy Twitter user still, just head to analytics.twitter.com. Same thing. You're going to see what your most powerful retweeted and engaged with tweets were. You can also see events and trending topics on Twitter. And if you can do some social listening to your industry terminology or conversations, fantastic. Now you don't have to like step into the cocktail party and ask what you missed for 10 hours. You just join it. And you can add relevant conversation in an organic or natural way and show up in that space and see what's kind of a hot trending topic before maybe it even breaks. Remember, you got to know the news to make or join the news. And then Sprout Social is a big one. So this and Hootsuite are front runner recommends for multi-platform scheduling and dashboarding that go a little bit deeper into analytics than CoSchedule does. And tons of opportunities here for reporting and collaboration and multiple team members, maybe client approvals and edits. So up to you, but Sprout Social is a little bit more. I think it starts at $99 a month. Hootsuite, you can find this for a few $100s a year. It doesn't have a calendar view, which I don't love, but it is a fantastic at a glance view. I only still use Hootsuite for Twitter, and I have a legacy account that's $6 a month, but they are not that cheap anymore. I think it starts at $25 a month. But you've got all of your platforms loaded up that you can just see at a glance what you're following and what the conversation is, as well as your scheduled posts that you can schedule here, anything you've been mentioned in or direct messaged at or hashtag searches, etc. And then Planoly, this is a snapshot of that, even though I mentioned that Later is a local company, a Canadian company that does a fantastic job, and it looks quite similar. So you can see on the left there, I've got my grid. I just drop in images right on top of it that I've already edited in Lightroom or Canva. And then I can move them around. And if they have a U, it means they're unscheduled as of yet. So they're sitting in sort of draft mode. Or as soon as I open it, add the caption and the hashtags and schedule it, it's going to be ready to go and have an S on it. And it's going to potentially be auto posted. I can see what my comments were and likes and reactions. And then I can also see some great analytics. So I love everything Planoly and Later. They're just beautiful tools and just fun and helpful and really, really powerful and affordable. I think we pay $9 a month for Planoly. Iconosquare, same thing, just deeper analytics and insights, has lots of great scheduling tools and has been around the longest, and it really made its mark with Instagram as opposed to other tools or platforms. And lastly, the quarterly content calendar. So if you recall earlier, I mentioned the process that we wholeheartedly recommend. It's the 1 month in advance plan, and it looks like this. If you can land this, you are laughing. And if you cannot bump it from your calendar or find other priorities, now your sailing and your social is going to get better, as well as your digital content, whatever your tactics are that you're committed to. So is this 1 month in advance? Is it 2 months in advance? I guarantee you, you can do it. No, I don't mean just get it done. I mean, find the kind of content 1 month out that is going to be fantastic the following month or two. You know what's coming. You know what you can speak to. You have fantastic ideas from your thought starters and from things that you're being asked and ideation in your group and your team or with your friends all the time. It's just a matter of committing the time to actually plan in advance and get it done. So I recommend that at all costs. And at the end of the day, this is what we circle back to with all of our strategy courses. How are you going to make it happen? What is your process and who's doing what? So wrapping up, a quick formula here. First, building brand loyalty, then moving into brand love. Remember that feeling of belonging that is really what's shining and winning for world-class brands today. Trust, building trust, not just worried about traffic, less about the amount of fans and followers you have and more about the actual engaged ones that you can, you know, the theory of those 1,000 true fans. Once you get there, you're laughing because they tell 10 people and they tell 10 people. And it happens naturally and organically to the brands that are building it authentically. So don't worry about your numbers as much as your authenticity off the hop. Creating unforgettable experiences all the time, digitally, physically. What can you do that make people choose you and come back for more, and then advocate on your behalf? And then finally, knowing what the meaningful metrics are for you that actually are going to move the needle and that are worth paying attention to versus the 7,000 that are out there in Facebook alone that you could manage or watch. And as they say, what gets measured gets managed and improved. So be human at all costs in every way and place you can. Make people fall hard for you in your organization, that they feel affinity and belonging, that they have some engagement, control, and stake in the brand. Establish the know, like, and trust factor, which has been around for a long time, but is as important as ever. And then just let people in. If that means you have to pep talk yourself once a week to do that IGTV or Instagram Live or that YouTube video, do it. It is not easy. I can attest to it. I have to pep talk myself, but just start doing it. And planning in advance and batch shooting or recording for your podcast, your IGTV, makes it easy. And then, you know, don't fall off the map. Don't aim for perfect, just aim for polished and professional, but process gets it done, and you'll start to see it pay off 100%. So that was our look at digital strategy. I know that was a big one. I hope I didn't overwhelm you entirely and that you're starting to see the places where you feel opportunity and a starting point or an improvement point. And I really look forward to seeing you in the second course, which is search engine optimization. We're going to get nerdier. Make sure you have access to the back end of your website. And if you don't, that's okay. It's a starting point. Maybe you don't have a site or a client to work on just yet. But this is an important course, as I feel it is the one that we've been most snake oiled by. And it was the last kind of, okay, not the last, there's always more to learn, but in terms of our suite of courses at Social School, it was the most daunting to me until I finally dove in and learned it and started teaching it, and now feel really good about it because it is not as hard as you think. In fact, it's really cool how we can make inroads on this and how important it is. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So thank you so much for being with me, and I will see you again soon.